All right, well, welcome everybody to Worldwide Academy Training Services. We're excited to have you with us today. I'm Donna Penna. This is Thurston Gill Jr. He is our lead instructor at Worldwide Academy Training Services. And I just want to real quickly before we get started on today's topic, just point you to to remember to like and to share these videos, to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of the topics that we are presenting here. Anything that we're talking about that we need to put links below, I'll do that. I'll put our website link and Facebook page links and all that, but please help us to share these videos so that we can reach more people. All right, so Thurston, today's topic is reality-based training. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Let's go. What is reality-based training?
Well, the idea behind reality-based training is to train in such a way so that what you actually learn within the class is easily expressed in the moment or the situation or the crisis you've been training for. If I can give an example, many athletes understand when I say, or even some artists as well, that when you are in class, in training, and you're doing a particular technique or a particular routine, it actually is expressed in an entirely different dynamic when you're actually on stage or you're actually in a physical conflict or you actually have to deal with a medical emergency. While we're training, we rarely are in training environments where we experience the same adrenaline dump that we would in actual application of what we've been training for. And that's why I used to wonder for many years when I was wrestling in high school, why do I have so much strength and stamina in training while we're doing classes, but when I get on the mat in the competition, it's like I'm exhausted, in the first couple of minutes, And the difference is when we train, we don't duplicate those dynamics that present itself in a actual situation where we're actually applying that training under pressure. And so that's why we talk about reality-based training. We want to, ideally, training should be set up in such a way so that as we train, it's the same way we spar. And as we spar, is the same way we fight, putting in that sense in a self-defense scenario. So there should not be a difference between the three. But having said that, it's very difficult to put into play for a number of reasons.
I was going to say that, how do you, it's role playing, right? But trying to get yourself in that mindset and then bring those emotions forward that you might be dealing with, like you said, the adrenaline. And when you come across somebody who's completely different than your trainer, like you trust your trainer, I trust you as my instructor, my trainer, and I might, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be like real transparent here. When I think about that, it scares me.
Yes.
I'm afraid to have training like that.
Right.
That puts me under that stress,
And that's the reality. That's the reality of the situation, because there are dual realities here. As I said, ideally, that's the way that training should be set up, but unfortunately, unrealistically, there are a number of factors that get in the way of doing that. Let's start with the type of students that we service or that we desire to train. They all are not the same. There are I think that probably the largest group of the individuals that end up in training programs like ours are individuals that I call refer to as seasonal hobbyists.
Mm.
uh, these are the folks that, based upon something happening, whether it be something they saw on TV, whether something happened to them personally,
Mhm.
it could be even just the beginning of the year, New Year resolution, or some looking for some type of summer activity. When
Mhm.
people come to sign up for a self-defense class, for instance, that is just one of several of the things that they're interested in doing. It is not the thing for them.
Right.
And they will only come to those classes as long as it is fun and interesting. If it ceases to be fun and interesting, then you will not see them sign up for the classes anymore. They will not
Mm.
complete the cycle of the class, or they just won't sign up again. And that's fine. That's and I would like to say that's probably the majority of students that
Mhm.
sign up for like a self-defense class.
Yeah.
Then there are individuals that have a greater commitment because of it's a thing for them. It's something that they've devoted to. It's a part of their lifestyle,
Mhm.
and maybe they started out as a hobbyist, seasonal hobbyist,
Mm.
and then ended up as a person that says, you know what, I think I need this. This is what I'd like to do. I'd like to be able to defend myself, protect my family, protect others, and so on. And they pretty much devote their life to that aspect
Mhm.
of of pursuit. And then there's individuals that are competitors. They're athletes, and
Mhm.
they're preparing for competition or something, which we don't. I don't do classes that prepare for competitions, so we just don't um,
Right.
have individuals that form that group. But you have these basically two groups or two types of people that we are trying to more or less target. Or there's another group, it's a very important group as well. In the groups, this particular group of people, they need the training experience to help them cope with issues in their life. They're individuals that take classes like this because they battle depression, and because of the
Mm.
intensity of the training or the demands that the training brings out of them, it's enough of a dopamine rush to help them pretty
Mm.
much deal with life
Wow.
as they know it. And so
Mm.
that's another group of individuals that might be that might appeal to this type of training.
Mm.
Now, having those three groups, the seasonal hobbyist, the devoted, committed, I like to call them the warrior priests,
Mhm.
and then you have the individuals that are the recoverists, the ones that are in recovery. Out of those two groups of people, if we were to design the training to be as realistic as possible, I would guarantee we would lose definitely the seasonal hobbyists,
Mhm.
because once it becomes hard and not fun, they're gone.
Yeah.
They're gone. And even with the recoveryists, they some stay for long periods of time, some don't. You know, it's like with anything that they're in a recovery process, and they'll stick with it for a period of time, but sometimes they begin to run out of steam and kind of what we call fall off the wagon,
Mhm.
because a crisis occurred in their life, or for whatever reason they got bored.
Mhm.
That's another thing. And no longer training no longer stimulates
Mm.
the dopamine rush anymore for them,
Yeah.
and so we end up you losing some of those folks. But uh, but like I said, if it's not like anything's wrong with any of these people that I just described,
Mhm.
not at all. It's just that we're talking about reality-based training. We have to talk about reality-based instruction or
People.
reality-based marketing, reality-based student.
Yeah, and I was, you know, and I'm thinking too, and it's not going to be the masses that are going to come out
No,
for
it
these.
is, it is not.
Um,
And so from a business or an instructor standpoint, we have to make these conscious, and I hate to use the word compromises, but we have to accommodate people where they are.
mhm,
Because I tell you, if I start like in the self-defense classes or personal protection classes that we have, if I start introducing sparring in our sessions, I know we're going to lose a lot of people because everybody that comes out to our classes are not going to participate
right.
because they don't want to get hit, they don't want to get hurt. Now that's reality when you're forced into a personal protection scenario,
Mm,
but the reality is that person will no longer be in the class once they get hurt. Once they have the idea that you're going to hit them or they get hurt in the process of training, it's not going to appeal to them. It's no longer fun. Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I
So
think that, you know, because I'm thinking about some of our classes and, you know, how you start out with the situational awareness. It's almost like people who they'll come to those classes, but they do kind of expect to have a little bit of physical involvement, you know. But they get stuck at that level. They don't want to then take that next step, like you said, um, to be serious about moving into that reality training. Or, you know, or maybe, you know, like you said, maybe they're at that that level of awareness where they're like, okay, well, if I'm aware enough, then I'm not going to need to know this other stuff because I'm aware of it and I can get out of it. I can get away from it. And so yeah, there, I mean, you know, I'm seeing there's just those different levels, like you said, and it's going to be, you know, I can see like there's the class which starts out like, okay, the intro to it, the situational awareness, even, and it's the same thing with the emergency preparedness stuff, right?
yes,
The, you know, the very basic, the introduction, and then it kind of whittles down to maybe a few more to it's almost like to the individual, with finding those individuals who really are up to willing to do that, you know, to have receive that receive the punches and, you know, the reality training. So yeah.
yeah, it is. Even in the emergency medical, um,
Hmm.
people that have not dealt with physical conflict,
Yeah,
and
right.
that is the majority of people, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
People that have not dealt with medical emergencies and probably may have experienced it for the first time, and that's what prompted them to come out for emergency medical training. They they don't realize, or people that have gone through it do realize that, man, this stuff, these situations, these experiences are, first of all, sporadic, chaotic,
Hmm.
unpredictable, and just scary.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's very scary.
And to duplicate that in a class setting, oh, absolutely, I can duplicate all of that to to some degree. But again, how many people I'm going to have left in the class?
And they have to be, they have to sign the waiver. You know, they
Yes,
have to know that
yes,
there's a risk, even though we
yes,
have protection or whatever,
exactly,
and be willing to take that risk. So,
right.
and I think that scary part of it is, wow. And I'm thinking of the different groups of people and how, you know, like if you have that group of people who really feels like they need to defend themselves for whatever situation they are in,
Right.
it's almost like those certain group of people, sometimes how would they even be able to get around learn, how would they get to, how could they get to learning that if they're in the certain situations that they're in, because they're afraid when they're in their, while they're in their situations already. So to be able to even teach them,
Exactly.
like
Exactly.
and that's why it's so important that and again, I keep going back to this, but the situational awareness, the yeah, how to, and even with kids now, and this is fresh on my mind because I went to see the movie The Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you've heard about that, about you know the guy that does rescues the children from sex trafficking, and like even to know like the things before you even get into that situation, for children
Yes.
to know, for parents, because
Yes.
the story revolves around these two brother and sister who their father took them, and it was in another country, but it doesn't matter because it happens right here. um, Took them to an audition, for somebody who was a talent scout, who scouted them out, took them
Mm.
in the room. I mean, I have this experience in my background with the arts and with music business, and I knew all that for years ago, right?
Right.
Do not ever let your children go into a room without you.
Yes.
And that was the
Yes.
father's mistake right off the bat. Never, and he lost his children. So like that stuff beforehand, knowing is so important to get that out, to be able to know that first before you get into those situations. But once you're in those situations, to know, where that's what we're talking about now, is that
Yeah.
reality based.
Yes. And with our classes, I try to do what I can, especially with as I think about the emergency medical scenarios that we do. I do put pressure on the students
Mhm.
to demonstrate to me that you understand the concept and the principles, not to be able to mimic what I did.
Right.
You understand the concepts and principles, and that you apply them correctly with the situation, because it's the situation that's going to dictate how you're going to respond to a situation.
Mhm.
Once you have the principles and the concepts, then no matter how much pressure you have, you're going to just do what you know.
Mhm.
And many people have been successful in being somewhat effective in terms of responding correctly, even though they didn't do everything right.
Mhm.
But they at least understood the basic concept enough to make it happen. CPR.
Mhm.
I wish I could tell everybody that whenever you do CPR on somebody, it's going to be in a brightly lit room in the
Mhm.
middle of the floor or on a table
Right.
when it's relatively quiet. You have a team of people around you to help you.
Right.
You have all of your equipment, and it's
Ambulance
all
is
been
down the
staged
street.
for you. What did you say?
I said the ambulance is right down the street. It'll be here in
Exactly.
30 seconds.
All of your equipment has been staged for you. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how it works. But that is not how it works. That's not how it happens. And so
Yeah.
I do, and I will throw in the mix that no, your equipment is not going to be staged. You are not going to be in a brightly lit room.
Mhm.
You, I just certain aspects that I try to. And most instructors find themselves in the same situation. It's not that we're unique in as any other organization. We all have to find that kind of gets what we want. Definitely, I want people to be proficient in the things that we teach them. But what's the sake of being proficient if you can't be effective?
Right.
And that's what we're striving for. And the best way to be effective is that when you get out of the training class and you find yourself in the middle of a crisis, that what comes out of you is what's going to come out of you is what you've been trained to do. But the question is, what is the quality of that training?
Yeah, and unless you are practicing those skills,
Oh, absolutely.
because you have to be able to move, like you said, and it's got to be like, it's got to be
Yes.
right in you to know what to do, to
Spontaneous.
be thinking, to, yes, almost like they call it second nature, whatever. But I again, I compare
Yes.
it to
Yes.
things that I understand, like dancing, like training our bodies um
Hmm.
to move in a certain way. And so it doesn't, and so yeah, and so people do the best that they can, but to be able to just and I think about our first responders, and people who do that for a living, or I'm hoping they practice that situation over and over, um because
Some
I
of them
want to
do.
feel confident that they do
Right.
know what they're doing, and they will react or respond, not react, in the way that they should.
Right. And many do, but you'll be surprised how many don't. You'd be
Yeah,
surprised
I'm
how many
sure.
don't.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to make anybody or any organization look bad. What I am saying is that we have to judge our training from the standpoint of not only proficiency but effectiveness.
Hmm.
Are we able to deliver a product that results in our objective being met? And it is a challenge to do that.
Hmm.
Our students have to be trained to be able to respond where they are at the moment, because we don't determine
Hmm.
when or what's going to happen. We find ourselves there, of course, if we can foresee or we can have the awareness to avoid those situations. But even awareness is a skill, is a training, that has to be applied.
Right.
But many times we find ourselves there. Well, it's happening. You're there. You're going to have to deal with it from there, that
Right.
moment, right now. And it doesn't depend. It depends on it. It depends on where you are.
Hmm.
Depends upon how you respond.
Right.
To train people to always deal with physical conflicts while standing up is not fair to them,
Mm.
because there are situations where they're going to have to deal with physical conflicts while sitting down. There'll
Yep.
be situations where they may have to deal with physical conflicts, unfortunately, from on the ground.
Hmm.
Well, we have to prepare them for those realities.
Yeah.
And if we're not doing it, then everything that we say or we train people in terms of our principles and concepts are just hot air, because we have to be adaptable.
Hmm.
We have to be able to respond where we are. And if we're not at that place where we need to be spiritually, physically, mentally, we need to get there quickly or get out of there.
Hmm.
We need to get there quickly or get out of there.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, there's some situations, because our first um response or reaction, or what, desire would be to get away from that situation, whatever it is, just get me out of here.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to step into, I don't want to help anybody. I just want to, which those are, certain
Yeah.
different people are different.
Yes.
But there's
Yes.
some situations that you just might not be able to get out of. So what are you
Yeah.
going to do?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then it's well, am I going to fight for myself, or am I going to, fight for my loved ones or whatever? Or am I going to lay here and die or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
that is reality. There's a lot of things that need to be trained out of us. And
Mm,
one of those things is, like you stated, okay, this is scary, I'm going to run. Well, you might not have that option,
mm-hmm,
or you may have somebody else that you might be leaving behind
mm-hmm.
that you're responsible for
Yeah.
and that you love. And so you have to have a different mindset if your first reaction is always to run. So that has to be trained out of you.
Mm-hmm.
And also has to be trained out of us is prioritizing, is knowing and understanding what's the priority. There are certain things need to be trained out of us because we're kind of taught, and in our mind that's a priority at this point. For instance, I use the example of when we used to put together personal protection teams or bodyguard teams. From time to time, I would have problems with some police officers. I'd try to screen people as much as possible. People would think that automatically, oh, police officer would be great for a protective team. Not always.
Mm-hmm.
They're not always a best fit, because some guys and some gals have to be trained not to arrest the person that's trying to attack us, when we should be trained to get our protectee out of the area and to make sure that they are safe.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gone, they're done.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to be concerned about arresting anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But for some people, that has to be trained out of them because that's all they know. They haven't been trained to do anything else. That has to be trained out of a person.
Mm.
Especially if they've been doing it for 20 and 30 years.
Yeah.
Again, it's not to speak disparaging of anybody, but it's the reality of, again, training experience.
Mm-hmm. It goes back to that mindset again.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we take it for granted that we're just going to have what it takes to deal with situations when they come up. And sometimes we deliver. Honestly, sometimes we deliver by the grace of God.
Mm-hmm.
But I can think, I think all of us can sit down and think of at least one occasion where I could have done better than that.
Right.
But
right.
because I didn't know, or I have these feelings and what have, I got you got caught off guard and you don't know what to do. I remember a situation where I was a new EMT.
Mm-hmm.
And I had joined the local rescue squad, but I was also doing training, first responder training programs for my security staff at the organization that I was working for. And we responded to a medical emergency. This is the first time this ever happened to me, by the way.
Mm.
We responded to an overdose, a report of an overdose. We got there, entered the home, and there was a woman that had attempted suicide by overdosing on medication. For right now, I don't understand. I don't remember all the circumstances, but we loaded her up. The paramedics were there. We were assisting the paramedic. One of the paramedics ended up on a rig with us. And Donna, I found myself frozen.
Mm.
I was just standing there, frozen, just looking at her, because didn't realize that this would ever happen, but I had a conflict in my mind about ministering to her and helping her medically.
Oh.
It was like, because at that time I was an ordained minister,
Mm-hmm.
and I just, the pain that this woman was experienced, it was just, the Lord allowed it to overwhelm me.
Mm-hmm.
I was just so moved. I felt like just right then and there, laying hands on her and praying.
Mm.
But this conflict, I need to be dealing with helping this paramedic doing medically. And then you need to lay hands on her and speak against the spirit that's trying to take her life. I didn't train for that. The only thing that snapped me out of it is the paramedic looked at me and said, "Hey, I need your help. Are you going to do something?"
No. Well, I was going to say that these, and even in the training, if we're doing reality training, that we're going to learn things about ourselves.
Absolutely.
you know, and then, and of course, in the real life situation, but we're
Absolutely.
going to learn where our fears are, where our conflicts are, where our
Mhm.
roadblocks are, you know, where we need to work on ourselves. And I think, again, it's this whole mindset again of, you know, uh, how, let's keep the focus on me. What am I doing? What's my part in all of my, whatever my issues are? It's not the other people, it's me. I see I'm frozen. Okay.
Right.
But still, but I'm thinking this, you know, as we're talking about that, that we're definitely going to learn some stuff about ourselves. Again, if we are aware of that we can learn about ourselves and if we are willing to,
Yes.
which most
And
people aren't, but
no, no, you're absolutely right. And and honestly, I would love to do what I consider I call a awareness profile class for every single class that we do. I would love to see an awareness profile of class or subject matter being discussed in every one of those classes. And basically, what it is I believe that all of us should have an awareness profile of ourselves. We need to know and be aware of what's going on in our head, in our heart, and in the
mhm,
environment around us, and
mhm,
even in the people that we may be addressing, all at the same time.
mhm.
And that takes practice, that takes training. The we 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 have to be aware of more than just what's going on the outside, because what crosses us up for the most part is what's going on the inside.
Mhm.
And the more we are made aware of what's going on the inside, the more we're able to deal with it. And then we can actually set up our individual awareness profiles so that it's well rounded, uh, all the kinks have been worked out, or you're in a process of strengthening your weaknesses.
Mm, okay.
Again, that's more time, that's more that's more training, that's more of a commitment that many people are willing to do. I know I lose interest over the years when I would do self-defense classes. I would lose interest quickly
Mhm.
when a lot of time is focused on those areas, because everybody wants to punch and kick.
Right.
Everybody wants to do the cool stuff.
Mm,
So I learned how to kind of dial back on those topics with most people.
right.
But when I see that there's somebody that's dialed in, oh, I tell you,
Mm,
it's fulfilling for me in the sense that I know that, okay, I found a warrior here. I'm investing in a warrior here, and that individual is going to be a force multiplier to make sure that more people are being safe.
I like that force multiplier. I'm gonna write that down. Those are the people we're looking for too, right?
Those are the people we're looking for. Yes, indeed. We'll take everybody else too, but
Yeah.
those
Oh,
are the
yeah.
people that we want to make an impact on the world as it continues to get darker and darker.
Yeah. And there's, yeah, again, there's those different levels, those different, yeah, different, I see different kinds of people, different teams, different, yeah. Yeah, I'm curious about that awareness profile. We'll have to talk about that and how that could be worked in, you know, yeah, that's interesting. I like that. Good.
I think it's an essential component
It,
that is continuously ignored. We
and
want
most
to,
people, like you said, are not expecting that when they come into a class, be like, whoa, hey, this is not
yeah.
supposed to be about, you know, I'm
It's
not
not that
exposing
serious.
that. I'm not exposing that about me. I didn't come to the class for this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have to be you know, real specific. That's why we are, you know, about what our classes entail, what topics you're going to cover over, you know, in each class. So,
Yes.
um,
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, anybody that has taken any of our classes and they haven't, uh, they feel a need to go deeper, to go further, or where, please contact us. You know,
yeah,
we'll make the provisions. We'll make the provisions to make sure that happens.
right.
But other than that, there is an expectation, and people pay for that expectation, and you have to give them
Mm,
what they expect for the most part, and try to exceed it, but exceed it in a way that
right.
makes them satisfied that they've spent their hard-earned money.
Yeah. Well, and I think you do that very well, Thurston. You know, we saw that in our last pet first aid class where, you know, we always do the evaluation forms at the end, and you know, everybody gave you top scores, and their expectations were met and exceeded. So that's, you know, as a teacher, I always try to do that as well. Like just always, and even as just as a leader, always deliver more than what is expected,
Yes,
you know.
yes.
So yeah, that's I think, you know, that's a good thing we're doing that. It's always
And absolutely, and I think that what makes us different than many organizations, and again, I'm not trying to speak ill of anybody else.
mhm,
Uh, I think that from our perspective, we're training people to release them to make a difference in the world. That's what we're doing. We're just not taking people's money and just going on to the next person to make money. Believe me, we're not making no money,
no,
but
I
that's
was
that's
gonna
a different
say,
point.
right. And it goes back again to, you know, our tagline, which is educate, train, release.
That's
That's what
right.
we want to do.
That's right.
And that's always has to be our focus. And you're right, we are not, you know, I'll be honest with you, this morning I had to think about that again. We are not, this is not a moneymaker.
Mhm.
You know, we're a nonprofit organization. We don't apply for any government grants. We are totally free from all that.
Yeah,
And so, you know,
exactly.
we're getting by on provision from
The Most High God.
Creator, the Most High.
Yeah,
And you know, from those who pay for our classes, you know, we're putting it right back in to what it's costing us to put, because it costs to put these classes on, you know, whether it's rental of space or buying supplies. And so yeah, so this is where we need to focus: educate, train, and release. And if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, the provision will be there.
yes, and it always has been.
And always
Always
has
has
been,
been.
you know. So yeah.
And also one of the things I want to mention is not mentioned very much is we've also been blessed by many people that have donated to us as well.
Hmm.
Much of our equipment, as far as as well as particularly the medical emergency equipment, have been donated to
Yeah.
individuals that saw that I was doing what I was doing and felt that it'll be better used in what we're doing,
Yeah.
and they were right.
Yeah.
So, having said that, everybody's not called to be an instructor. Everybody's not called to be a provider of training services. But if you feel led to donate to further the cause of being able to train, educate, and release people out into this world that's imploding,
Hmm.
to be available and trained to help other people, then by all means, we'll accept your donations.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I think about, you know, we had just been donated or given all that, you know, those mannequins for CPR, and then, you know, 2020 hit with pandemic. And I'm like, okay, well, now
Yeah,
what? We had all this
what are we gonna do with
stuff.
those?
We got our pet first aid stuff. Okay, well, I should have known, But you know, again, being in a situation where you've never experienced
Yeah.
something like this before, not knowing what's going to happen, like we can, you know, look back on have hindsight on all this, but it is a good example of, okay, well, spiritually and physically, seeing that we had this, should have thought, well, we don't have it we're going to have to use it in the future. We're not giving
Yes.
this for nothing. What do we,
Yeah.
but definitely we'll take your donations. And if you, we're looking to buy another CPR dog. It looks like I'm frozen again. I don't know. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
I've been freezing a lot today here on there. Even though it's extremely hot and humid here. If you want to donate, we're looking to buy a third CPR dog for our pet first aid class, and we need some other materials for our classes. Definitely you can donate to us. Just go to our website, Worldwide Academy Training Services.org, all spelled out. And on the very first homepage, scroll down, you'll see the donate button. You can donate there. You can donate through PayPal. You can contact us, whatever way you would like to do that. We would be so grateful for your donations. And
Or sign up for a class, or sign somebody else up for a class.
and I was going to say, and please share the information, share these videos, join our Facebook group, our page, go to our page, like it, share that page. Our Worldwide Academy Training Services Emergency Preparedness page, our pet first aid, or groups, I should say. These are private groups. We've been getting a lot of engagement or more engagement on those pages recently. Again, all with the purpose of educating, training, and releasing people. Believe me, we both have so much on our plates with family and, other businesses, jobs, and we are trying our best to keep this going and to reach as many people as we possibly can, and to reach the people that are called to this.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
if you think, oh, I can't help you, I can't donate, I can't, I can't instruct, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's fine, but you can hit the share button, you can hit the like button and the love button on Facebook. Still trying to get Instagram up and running. It's like, in the time that I have, but you can do that. And we really, really do appreciate you guys. Those of you who do share, those of you who do like, those of you who just encourage us. Some of you encourage us with your work and with sharing your experiences. We are very blessed by that. So we just want to thank you for that. So, well, are any closing words, Thurston?
I think everybody that has the training, the knowledge, and even the desire to help other people, it's important that we understand that the more prepared we are, the better we will be. And I think it's a basic understanding, but unfortunately, with the demands of our daily lives, it gets lost in the translation somehow. I pray that you have the time and the effort to do what you can to practice, to learn, to increase your knowledge and experience, so that when the time comes for you to deliver, you're up for the task.
Absolutely. Well, thank you once again for sharing your, your knowledge with. I know that there are going to be a lot of people at one point who really do receive this, and I appreciate all that you do for us. And we will end here. Don't forget, like, subscribe, share, and keep prepping, keep learning, keep sharing, and we hope to see you next time. Be blessed. Thanks, Thurston.
All right, be blessed. Yeah. Bye-bye.